In assessing contemporary leaders, Donald Trump and Narendra Modi stand out for their strong public personas. Trump's tenure was marked by actions many analysts labeled erratic and divisive. By contrast, Modi has governed with a vice-like grip on power, while maintaining unusually high approval ratings around 75% as of 2025. This analysis will compare their day-to-day behavior and rhetoric, highlighting Trump's economic and tax pronouncements and contrasting their communication styles, decision-making, and public perceptions. Trump was a business executive with no prior government role, casting himself as an outsider in 2016, whereas Modi was a longtime party organizer and chief minister who emphasizes governance experience. Both portray themselves as supporters of the people against elites, Trump with slogans like "Drain the Swamp," and Modi through promises of development and nationalism tailored to India's electorate. Turning to Donald Trump, his public behavior has often been controversial. He delivered off-the-cuff speeches and attack-driven rhetoric that broke with presidential norms. He frequently denounced opponents as treasonous and called the press the enemy of the people, illustrating his combative approach. In one recent appearance he spoke for 80 minutes like a campaign rally, making many false claims and personal attacks. When aides urged him to stick to policy rather than insults, he brushed them off, saying he has to do it his way. Offstage, he often boasted about his own strengths, crowd sizes, stamina, and rarely acknowledged mistakes, which kept media focus on him as an individual rather than on policy details. Observers often describe his style as unpredictable and intensely personal. Trump's statements on taxes and the economy exemplify gaps between rhetoric and reality. He famously claimed a corporate tax cut would raise average household income by about $4,000, a claim fact-checkers deemed dubious at best. In practice, the 2017 tax law delivered the largest benefits to corporations and wealthy households, with little evidence of the promised trickle-down to ordinary workers. For example, by 2025 the top 1% of earners are projected to receive an average tax cut of roughly $61,000 per year, compared to only about $910 for a middle-income household. Trump also championed heavy tariffs, famously calling tariff his most beautiful word, even though economists warned those duties would raise prices and harm growth. Analysts projected his proposals could add about $7.5 trillion to the federal debt by 2035, but he insisted growth and trade would cover that gap. He even once displayed grocery items to illustrate inflation, despite evidence that many staple prices had actually fallen and overall food inflation was modest. Critics say much of the tax windfall went to corporate debt reduction or stock buybacks rather than higher wages, contrary to Trump's optimistic framing. These episodes underscore that his economic messaging often conflicts with data and expert analysis. By contrast, Narendra Modi's leadership style has been more structured and disciplined. Modi presents himself as a development-focused leader, emphasizing economic growth and national pride. He has maintained a vice-like grip on his party and government. His public communication highlights broad themes and national achievements rather than personal attacks. For example, after India's recent election he tweeted that voters had turned out in record numbers to re-elect his coalition. He framed his opponents as casteist, communal and corrupt, reflecting a focus on ideological and policy differences instead of personal hostility. Modi also uses highly organized media campaigns and frequent public broadcasts, radio and television, to maintain a consistent message, unlike Trump's more ad-lib approach. His campaigns often feature ritualistic symbolism, like yoga or national festivals, to reinforce unity under his leadership. Comparing their approaches, Trump and Modi differ sharply in style and decision-making. Trump often uses blunt, populist language and improvises at large rallies or on social media. Modi, by contrast, delivers scripted speeches and coordinates policy through party and government channels. Trump's decisions often arrived as sudden surprises. For example, in 2025 he abruptly imposed a 50% tariff on many Indian imports. Modi immediately responded by promising to protect farmers and to explore new trade partnerships. Where Trump often acts unilaterally, Modi builds coalitions and follows established procedures. These differences show in polling. A 2025 survey found Trump's approval at just 40%, whereas Modi's remained around 75%. Some opposition figures in India accused Modi's party of election misconduct, but these charges were denied by officials. Many observers note that Trump's economic speeches sometimes lack coherence. Journalists described one press event as rambling, and in other settings he veered off topic with confusing analogies. His rhetoric frequently conflicts with documented facts. Fact-checkers have logged thousands of misleading statements by Trump, observing that his tax and trade claims often did not add up. For example, he repeatedly asserted that high tariffs would not hurt U.S. consumers or finances, despite economists warning otherwise. Such patterns reinforced a perception that many of his economic pronouncements are disconnected from reality, necessitating constant fact-checking. For instance, one tally found over 30,000 false or misleading claims by Trump in 4 years, a volume that commentators found remarkable. Modi's statements have not been systematically tallied in this way, so analysts evaluate his impact mainly by policy outcomes. These findings illustrate that credibility in communication can greatly affect public perception. Trump's frequent misstatements have become a central part of his narrative, while Modi's narrative is judged more on whether development goals are met. In summary, Trump and Modi present contrasting leadership models. Trump's style has been improvisational and combative, leading to frequent clashes with experts and rapid policy shifts. Modi's approach is more methodical and nationalistic, with disciplined messaging aligned to his government's agenda. Each leader remains highly influential, but their public images differ. Trump's approval is deeply polarized along party lines, whereas Modi's remains broadly high. Critics point out that many of Trump's economic and tax statements do not hold up under scrutiny, while Modi's pronouncements largely track his stated policies. Looking ahead, analysts note that Trump will need to broaden his appeal if he seeks another term, while Modi must maintain economic momentum to keep his coalition intact. Ultimately, this comparison underscores how even two populist leaders can employ very different communication styles, decision-making processes, and governance outcomes.